Multiverse of Madness. You know, this movie is not as bad as they say it is. I see why they say it is. And it's definitely not $500 million worth of product. Seriously, where does the money go? Because this has like PlayStation 3 graphics for most of the time, and there is the Avengers movies, like in the past, when the MCU was appreciated or held this high regard, made $1 billion in return. $500 million on a Doctor Strange standalone thing. How? Why? It must be money laundering. It just must be. I made some notes before I go free fall. So, all the big name new reviewers asked why didn't Wanda look for a world where her counterpart was already dead? Actually, this is in the movie if you paid some attention. So the answer should be obvious from what it sets up. And you don't even have to watch anything else. Wanda is a villain, who I guess at the end commits suicide. So that element is solved. And she doesn't think straight. She is insane. At the same time, we learned that dreams are different lives of our own in the multiverse. You should see my dreams because that's very not probable. Either way, so this all means that Wanda is not trying to look for a specific thing in an infinite ocean of dimensions, but heads for the known alternative, the sure alternative, the alternative she knows is there for that specific dimension, like a real villain. And the movie even marks her as such, aka a villain, when Strange unveils her lies about retreating from magic and she is having hidden intention with Chavez. There is still that factor that makes it a bit wishy-washy, that it's just a evil book poisoned her, but that's not a real excuse at this point. And for her children being invoked, the script implies it's a wishy-washy language, so they can retcon everything later, I think. But the script implies that in the dimension she aims for, where Wanda still has her kids, and this phrasing from me is intentional, still has her kids, they are also just conjured up magical things, phantasms if you want. So by default, she cannot head for a world where the children are infant, because Scarlet Witch is the source of the magic making them, sustaining the magic. If Wanda dies, the children die with her. This, on the other hand, does not explain anything about America Chavez. Who is she? Why does she exist? What's up with her powers? And as she has an original dimension, why is she existing there where she has no alternatives? And I do mean that narratively in the MCU, which is a fictional world of our creation, nothing can exist aside what we make up to exist. So whatever comes in the future must explain America Chavez. Why is there only one? Why she has this unique power? What's the purpose of it? And would also be nice to tell us what's up with the Loki storyline, that, you know, there is no longer a multiverse according to the Loki series season 2, the ending. Loki substituted the machine, so there can be a couple deviations, but not for the long time. It's just for bits and pieces. You can have a what if series along the main storyline, but that's mainly it. You can have your friendly neighborhood Spider-Man for a season or two, but that is it. You can't have this much deviation, 800 universes or whatever many they are. And why didn't Mordo, when we are in the whole Illuminati scene, just killed Strange and Chavez? Because that's his trick. He's killing wizards. And Chavez was imposing a threat to their universe. And the movie established that killing Chavez would solve everybody's problem. So just kill Chavez. No questions asked. This card scene is just stupid. And for the other members of the Illuminati, pulling this shit from, I guess, the Illuminati Inhuman series, probably that Black Thunder or whoever existed, but that's, I guess, if he exists there, I will have to watch it because, oh fuck, I just created myself a new problem. But, if you, there was no reason to watch the Inhuman series, because that does not fit to any other installment of the MCU. So you have to watch the Inhuman series because of this movie, but you cannot know that you should have watched that before watching this movie. Catch-22. Great work, Marvel. You had one job. And, this whole Illuminati, I heard they are supposed to be a big thing in the comics, some big guns, but I never met them. I read my fair share of comics, a couple thousand issues from here and there, but I never met them. I don't have a single clue what they are. I mean, they some high power group, but I was talking about high power. What with Captain Agent Carter? She has a shield. Big deal. How does she come amongst that Black Inhuman and Captain Marvel? Captain Marvel is a big thing, and they showed that Inhuman guy just blasting away some guy because he's just a ripoff of that mutant or whatever in the Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. series. And this version of Captain Marvel, a character which did not work in the comics, neither in the movies, now she is even black. What were you thinking? Seriously. You make an already hated character race swapped into a black person under the administration of Donald Fascist Trump. Not a good plan. And I don't care about the Fantastic Four guy. He doesn't exist in any other already established iteration, so I don't know who he is. He's just hanging in the air. And Professor X, that's where you kill the Illuminati for me. If I know one thing about the X-Men, is the greatest evil of the X-Men universe, brand, franchise, whatever you want to say it is Professor X. I will tell you why at the end of X3. But Professor X, I read the comics. I read the first 250 issues of the original Uncanny X-Men. And and I know what's come after that in grand, not the details, but the grand structure, at least some core events. And I tell you, Professor X is a genuine villain. So, the Illuminati for me is evil. Plain evil. And they are incompetent. Fuck. Come on. They can't even devise traps. Ask me, I design you a structure where entering and leaving will be, at least without reality bending powers, near impossible. I mean, you can always have some magic armor on humans. Now, moving on. Big complaint for me from the technical standpoint that this is practically a roadstar movie. What's the name of that? When they are traveling and they all stopping, and that makes the story. And here they are constantly running from this thing or that thing to this place and that place. And they are standing around. You gain some time and you use it to stand around and do absolutely nothing. Who made up this shit? And somebody made this up, and somebody approved it, and somebody directed this movie and said, yeah, that's fine, we're just standing around for half a minute, doing nothing, wasting millions of dollars. What am I watching? Seriously. Somebody has way too much money. I just can't explain this. These are unfathomable. Just, what's the financial plan? You can't just... What was the plan? Now back to the grand scheme of things. I have zero idea who this America Chavez is, and there is a very good reason for that. Because she doesn't have to exist. She's a MacGuffin. She's not a character. She could have been an item. But, as in this movie we have practically two characters. Scarlet Witch Wanda, Maximus, and Doctor Strange. Doctor Strange walking around alone would be boring. So you have to talk to somebody. Mostly what he says is you can line it out because it means nothing. And that memory machine scene, why is it there? Aside after that putting in Raimi's old friend Bruce Campbell and making a joke out of it and making an ass out of Doctor Strange, and if that guy was hitting himself for 3 weeks, that guy is dead. From the pummeling, from the not sleeping, that guy is dead. On the other hand, they are going through scenes. First they are fighting the giant starfish. You know what looks okay in comic books that not necessarily works well in real life. That's one of the aspects of the Doctor Strange universe, which is very 70s LSD inspired shit. It looks ass. that's like a toy thing. But then they are going to the memory universe, doing nothing. Then they are. Look, I only remember the Illuminati universe where. Why were we there? We didn't learn what the Illuminati is. They didn't achieve anything. They didn't introduce characters. It didn't progress the Doctor Strange travel, so that's just a pile of nothing. By the way, in the whole movie, I counted 2 gory effects. 2. Why were they there? No idea. Or why don't they use consistently the magic, like Doctor Strange cut off with some magic item, summon one tentacle of the starfish? Why not use the spam that? No idea. Maybe he didn't memorize enough of that spell that day. I have no idea. But otherwise, the love story with Doctor Strange was okay. And using that witch book to possess the dead Doctor Strange. Look, I have no idea what bullshit they came up with those souls things. Anyway, I didn't hate the magic battles. Magic eventually just mushed together at least flashy stuff, but here it was decent magic battle, so I can't argue with that. The character motivations were kinda clear. I have no idea what was with the wizard book in the center of the multiverse, and the Illuminati Doctor Strange was definitely not the one who was leading Chavez there, and because they came from way farther, and the place didn't look like when they entered through Illuminati Strange's door. It's just half the time I had no idea where they are. There was the evil Doctor Strange realm, yeah, that was what was falling apart. I'm not sure what was the point of that, but I didn't hate it, so and we were over it pretty fast, so let's not talk about that. So all in all, I give a 5 out of 10 for this, but given the development of the MCU, and especially the mid or post credits, in whatever you want to call it, of this Doctor Strange movie, we are missing at least one or two movies to explain the multiverse. What's up with America Chavez? What's up with Loki? How the whole thing come together? And you know what worries me the most? If, as the same people are doing the the Doomsday and whatever comes after it, that other Avengers movie, like the people who did Infinity War and Endgame. So that means whatever will happen in Doomsday will be retconned in the next one. So why bother watching? Why bother watching Doomsday? So again, it's the infinite time I have to ask, but what was the plan? What is the plan with the MCU? What was the plan spending this much money on this? What was the plan with America Chavez? Who the fuck is she? Why did you spend 150 million on a 6-episode series what should have been a 12-episode series? Or at least 9-episode. What was basically a guaranteed new one, niche watch. What was Miss Marvel? Okay, you deleted Kang, but how did Kang connect to Loki? Or I mean, we know how it connected to Loki, but how does that line connect to here? And correct me if I'm wrong, but the MCU seems to have lost its ways. There is no story. Nobody knows what they are doing with the individual project or in general. What we would need is fire a bunch of people, hire someone with a common sense and time to read through some script, because you need that. Figure out where you are dumping the money, because this seems like an Elon Musk scam, a pump and dump scam. Like, what was that? Netflix bought what studio? Or Bethesda. You know why Bethesda didn't release anything? You know, they made Skyrim. They were waiting to be bought up. So then someone else will just give them a new engine. They didn't want to develop an engine. That's why they didn't make new games. Just remakes and that kind of shit. Or Warner Brothers bought James Gunn and his cohort from Disney Marvel, and that turned out to be a pump and dump scheme. They had that. They released the Superman movie that achieved decent budget. Boom, sold. It's now someone else's problem. Disney seems to be doing the same kind of pump and dump scheme. I cannot explain it otherwise. Half-baked scripts, way overspending. Nobody's communicating with the audience. Seriously, you had enough time. Feige or whoever, come out and tell us what is the story, what connects to what is making the grand picture. Because you can't just release movies using the same guys who made the previous two movies, which the second retcon the first one. Doomsday cannot be your salvation with that kind of attitude.